Hi, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining and being a part of our Road to Memory Sunday 2021. I'm happy, as always, to be joined by our CEO and founder and just visionary leader, just all around, really one of my favorite people, Dr. Pernessa Seele of the Balm and Gilead. I'm the deputy director here and director for our National Brain Health Center for African Americans. And we're just going to share with you a little bit about Memory Sunday this year, some new updates that we made, but really why Memory Sunday is important, why we want our local congregations and faith leaders to participate in Memory Sunday to address the issues and challenges that we have around dementia, Alzheimer's, and really just to be able to age better. So again, I'm happy. Dr. Seele, welcome. It's good to see your face.
Girl, it's good to be seen, honey. It is good to be seen. Hey, everybody. So glad you're joining us.
Great. So before Dr. Seele and I really just invite you into a conversation, I want to share just a little bit, give an overview for those of you who may not know about our National Brain Health Center for African Americans, but then also, again, kind of why Memory Sunday is important, why we created the toolkit, the book of Alzheimer's, and all that. And then we're going to bring you guys back in for a really candid conversation for why Memory Sunday is important to both myself and to Dr. Seele.
All right.
So Memory Sunday, this is a national awareness campaign. It is a program or is an initiative of our National Brain Health Center, which is a program of the Balm in Gilead. We are excited that this is actually our 6th year for the National Brain Health Center. And it's actually our 4th year of our Memory Sunday campaign. So the Brain Health Center, the main objectives is that we want to raise awareness about the issues that are affecting the cognitive health of African Americans. And we do that as the Balm in Gilead. We do that through African American congregations. We understand that making them a partner in this work is how we get the impact that we are looking for, so that we can educate Black people about Alzheimer's and dementia, that we can educate our communities on the behaviors and the signs and risk reduction. And again, how can we live more healthy, quality lives as we age? And then raise awareness about why we have to be diagnosed earlier and sooner. And then how do we effectively and culturally competently support our caregivers who are caring for loved ones who are affected by dementia and Alzheimer's. We provide training and information to healthcare and public health professionals because it's a team. It takes a village to really be able to do this work. And so it's important that we make sure that those, our public health and healthcare providers, that they are equipped to be able to understand the specific issues of how cognitive health and aging presents and exists in our communities and in our families. And then we look to make sure that we are looking at culturally tailored faith-based tools and resources like our Memory Sunday toolkit and the book of Alzheimer's that really educate our health ministries on how within the local congregations you can build and create programs and services and opportunities to raise awareness about brain health, how to support caregivers, and again, how do we as a community live longer and live better. So in addition to that, so Memory Sunday is the mobilization. That is the faith in action around Alzheimer's and dementia. It's about harnessing that power that we know our faith leaders and it's found in our pulpits, both even virtually now with COVID, but for those who have actually returned back to in-person services. But how do we harness that to, again, raise awareness about what Alzheimer's is, what dementia is, what things put us at risk, like diabetes and heart disease, obesity, and then what options are available. We know that there's no cure for Alzheimer's, but we do know that there are treatments and medications that help slow the progression that really are not of as much benefit if we don't get that early diagnosis. And then how do we, wrap around our caregivers, providing them with the tools and resources that they need. And that's what's at the heart and at the core of Memory Sunday. That's what the entire next week, our Road to Memory Sunday that begins on June 7th, will be about education, engagement, fellowship, connecting, and looking at not just the person living with Alzheimer's and dementia, but what do we do about the communities and the families in which they live. So why do we need a Memory Sunday? And definitely we don't want to go into some of the stats, but Alzheimer's and dementia are heavy burdens, especially in the African American community. It places great financial burden. It places a toll emotionally, both on the individual as well as the caregiver and the community. And we have to learn to break some of those stigmas, the misinformation and the myths about just what cognitive health is, what it means to age healthy, what is normal aging, and what we want it to look like in our families and in our loved ones. And that's why Memory Sunday is so important. So June 13th, 2021 is officially Memory Sunday for this year. We are happy that we have our book of Alzheimer's, which is your educational resource guide for any and everything you want to know about Alzheimer's and dementia, the difference between the two, as well as other common cognitive health issues and how they specifically look and impact our communities. But then the toolkit is the heart and soul. That's your how-to. And we are really, really excited. Big kudos and hats off to our marketing and communications director, Maria Rojas, and her team as we revamped the toolkit, gave it a little bit of a refresh, added some new resources and tips in there that'll be available starting on Friday for you to be able to download and utilize. So really excited about that. There's a brand new partner guide as well that we created kind of as a partner companion for those who want to support local congregations and African American communities on our journey to healthy aging. So really, really excited about that. We'll talk more about that at the end. But now really want to take us back to, again, to have a conversation. Dr. Seele, I'm gonna call you Pernessa because that's what I call her. When we're not,
yes, Pam.
we're not in front of company. She's Pernessa to me because again, we want to have a real kind of candid conversation because Alzheimer's and dementia has touched us both in cognitive health, kind of, in different ways. And so when you had this vision, why is this something that is so important for you and for you to make sure that this was something that the Balm and Gilead, put its stamp on and continues to raise awareness and bring attention to?
Well, Pam, first of all, I remember when we were working on this project, this proposal, and coming up with the name. And everybody says I always come up with long names. And, it's just very, very dear to me. The brain health and Alzheimer's and everything that affects, our aging process now that I am up in that process. But the project wouldn't really have been nothing without your leadership. You have really done a fantastic job taking the vision, catching the vision, and moving this program to be the national program that I envisioned. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you for that. This is important because so many of us, so many African Americans like you and I, are in the trenches with cognitive health issues. It's real. And for me, my birth mother has Alzheimer's. And, it's like, well, first of all, when I say my birth mother, let me just share that, I was adopted. I was adopted on my birthday. The first, when I was a fabulous woman brought me into the world and placed me into another fabulous woman. So I have two fabulous mothers, really. But I met, my birth mother when I was 22 years old. 22. So 22. So I'm an only child with 8 brothers and sisters. So I met a whole nother family when I was 22 years old. And that's a whole nother story for another time. But today, I've gotten to know my birth mother. And today she has Alzheimer's and she's had it for about 20 years, Pam.
Wow.
So, we've been struggling with this for over 20 years, and her short-term memory is gone. And, inch by inch, she doesn't quite remember my baby brother now, but when she gets to church,
Mm.
when she steps into church, she knows everything. She knows the pastor can say, turn to John chapter 6, verse 12, whatever, turn to the book of Malachi, whatever. She is right there. She's right there. And she's right there with the hymns, the singing. She is right there for the entire time we are in worship.
Wow.
But as soon as she steps out the door, she is back into that state, so it's something about the worship experience, and her, be her life was engulfed in worship in church, that I think that it is so important that our churches understand that they have such a major role to play with the senior community as we age, and as for those people who are living with Alzheimer's. And one of the concerns I have for the new contemporary church, and I love the new contemporary church. However, when I go in, I am kind of like, okay, I didn't grow up with the church where, I grew up with a big choir, you know what I mean? The choir director, and, we singing a hymn, you know what I mean? Come down font, blessed assurance, the choir is singing, God is, but the church, the contemporary church today, they don't have that.
Yeah.
So there is, and sometimes there may be a disconnect with someone with Alzheimer's when they go into worship, because the worship experience is so different,
Right.
And I bring this up just as a opportunity to suggest that the contemporary churches, pastors, that you remember that there are people with Alzheimer's who are coming in, who may not be able to connect with your service because it is just something completely different.
Right.
But I think the church has a real important role to play.
Absolutely. So you brought up two really, really good points that I wanted to make sure that people kind of understood the connection behind. So what we do at least know from research, which is also another kind of critical point of the Brain Health Center, to making sure that we understand how research work, how trials and the importance of studies help us understand what we need to know, and should be doing about Alzheimer's and dementia and just aging overall. But what we do know is music. So the parts of our brain that recognize music, that are moved by music and evoke emotions, those are some of the last areas and connections within the brain to go as a result of Alzheimer's and dementia, which is, like you said, to your point, which is why it's so important. But it's the hymns, like you said, it's not the new and improved, which is great. We definitely are not saying don't do that, but I think part of Memory Sunday is about having congregations think about, how do you become dementia friendly?
Mm-hmm.
How do you make sure that you're not alienating those who have a loved one, my mom, a grandpa, or somebody who you want to come to service, and you want them to come to service so they can experience exactly what you just described with your birth mom. And the way that we do that is to think about carving out 5 minutes, 10 minutes of a service, or having just a special service. We have, every fifth Sunday, it's this special thing. We have youth day at churches and congregations, and then we got Women's Day, or so like we make
right.
And that's what June 13th is. That's that second Sunday in June and you really want to do it throughout the year, but if you don't do it any other time, join us and this campaign and this effort to say, okay, well, on June 13th, we're going to make it all about our aging members. We're going to make it all about the caregivers, and you want to come and bring your loved one with you. And we're going to create the safe space for you to feel comfortable and for them to feel comfortable. And those, again, you hit on them perfectly in terms of that's what Memory Sunday is. It's incorporating, yes, evidence-based things such as music theory and therapy and what we know, art, writing, drawing, adult coloring books are a big thing now. And now it's because we know that as we age, it actually helps us maintain some of our cognitive abilities. But if you don't, that therapy and way to color is also an expression that those who are kind of trapped in the silence of losing memory and not just memory, losing executive function and thinking and ability to reason, music and art is a way for them then to express. And that's what, there are all kind of tips and information about those types of things in our toolkit that we've done, as well as in the book of Alzheimer's itself. So you, and I think this has both been our child since writing the proposal, sending it in, and then kind of just adding and tweaking things as we've gone out. While we definitely know that our faith partners, our congregation's faith leaders, they're the cornerstone, they're the heart and soul of the Brain Health Center and everything that comes out of it. But you also are really big on our partners. You're really big on healthcare clinicians, which I fall into that bucket as a nurse to say, okay, well, what do we need to do better? What do we need to know? Because I can attest that, unless you specialize in geriatric work, you're not going to get a whole lot of it in school. You're definitely not going to get a whole lot of how this this disease presents itself in minority communities. So why was it also equally important that we lent a voice and we lent the kind of cultural education that group, needs in terms of the healthcare providers and things like that, because there's also space for them within Memory Sunday as well.
Well, I think cultural competence is a necessity, across the board when it comes to the African American community, and definitely as we come to the African American aging community. And I would want you to be, because you don't have to be, I would want you to be not just culturally competent, but educated to what has happened in our past. This weekend, we've been just looking at Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you still have 3 survivors, but you also have people, in their 70s, 80s, and 90s who lost their parents, who lost family members. I myself grew up in the segregated South. So as we are aging and definitely experiencing Alzheimer's, we need our partners, our health professionals, to be culturally competent and supportive. And I can't get the word I'm looking for right now, but be sensitive to what that person's life has been. Not necessarily bad or good. They may have been the first Black person to integrate the high school. You don't know what may come up. And we need health professionals who are sensitive and culturally competent to each individual's life and what they may be experiencing at that time. And Pam, if I may share that, and I think this comes into not just healthcare professionals, but also caregiving. And my 8 brothers and sisters, and remember, I didn't know them, but they knew me, because my birth mother kept me alive all of those years. So they grew up with this sister somewhere, So when I came on the scene, they were so happy that their mother had connected with this phantom sister of theirs, you know what I mean? And out of all of her children, guess what? I looked just like her. Wow. But my point is that my sister Angie took on the responsibility of taking care of my birth mother for years. I mean, right down to those 20 years. And today, Angie is bedridden. She's bedridden, and her daughter is now taking care of her. she now has dementia. She now has all kinds of, illnesses because she did not take care of herself. She gave herself over to taking care of her mother. And it was a struggle to actually, transfer my birth mother to my baby sister. So that's where she is now with my baby sister, who just has a big heart for taking care of any and everybody. But one of the things that I find just so extraordinary in this process is that every day, as she is forgetting her children, she is remembering and recalling the day that I was adopted.
Wow.
She goes through her emotional process of giving me to somebody else, and that becomes, there's no word for that.
Yeah.
So some days it becomes so intense that my sisters will just call me up because she wants to talk to me. You know what I mean? And I have to go, I'm a part of her going through this process, and she'll just start praising the Lord and praising the Lord and look where he's come from. But that's a part of her coming out of this emotional moment of her departing from her baby girl, and that baby girl was me.
Wow.
So, there are so many things that families are experiencing, caregivers taking care of their loved ones are experiencing that you would not have no idea unless you're in the trenches. And that's why we have to be sensitive all around. The church has to be sensitive. The caregivers need support in every way. It's just all around, all inclusive education, awareness, and support.
Absolutely. And what you've shared is a generational, aspect to that. And if we think about, knowing what we know about caregivers, and too often, like your sister, their health is worse. They're in worse shape than those that they're actually caring for because of the stress, because they're not taking time to be able to, or they can't. Sometimes it's not I don't want to get to the doctor and I don't want to not do those things for myself, but when am I supposed to find the time? If respite services aren't available where you are, especially, and I know the rural community and rural churches, that's, that is so key and so important, because those communities often lack the things that we want to encourage people to do and access, like respite services or adult daycare, or just the cost. And then the other key thing that you said is just the emotion of it, the emotion of the person who will relive certain traumas, or or maybe not traumas, but they're just reliving some very emotional times in their lives. And then you're watching them, not either maybe knowing what to do, what you should do. My grandfather, who died from Alzheimer's, had some of those same ones, and some of his recall, or when he would go into, those emotions or memories, were really good. And some of them were not, because he had, kind of to your point, he grew up, at a time of Jim Crow and racism, when it was at some of its height and ugliest, as a young man, a young Black man, in really small, rural places in Texas. And he would recall violent
my Lord,
instances to where he would lash out because he didn't recognize our faces. There were moments he didn't recognize my grandmother's face. We were all strangers to him, and in his mind and where he was, we were not there to help him. So I think, like you said, and that's a heavy thing, a heavy load to kind of carry on your own, which is why we do need everybody. We need everybody to get on board: partners, pharma, healthcare, clinicians, federally qualified health centers, and then definitely having them be that wraparound that our churches and our congregations need. Because history has shown us that is a place of refuge. It always will be a place of refuge. But beyond refuge, we want Memory Sunday and through the Brain Health Center for our congregations to be places of support, places of encouragement, places of education, and getting people made aware of what's happening and what they can do, what's available to them, whether it's policies, like paid leave, whether it's policies like, you got to get some broadband because you can't even see a provider to get your loved one checked out that you think might have some issues. And so it, like you said, it has to be comprehensive. It has to be holistic. And that's what, and how, you've envisioned Memory Sunday. I'm happy to see it in its 4th year. It went through COVID, didn't break.
It survived COVID.
Yeah, it survived COVID. We survived COVID. That's always a beautiful thing because some things didn't make it out of 2020.
That's right. A whole lot of things, a whole lot of folks did not make it.
So we've got a few minutes left. So, we're big. We want to think about what do we want people to do? So they've heard us talk and share why this is so important to us, not just as leaders of the Balm at Gilead, but as obviously two Black women who have been personally impacted by it. So next week, our Road to Memory Sunday, it starts June 7th all the way till that second Sunday of June the 13th. And we got definitely a lot of different things we want you to engage with us in. But what's your biggest thing that you want people to make sure that they do with us next week?
Oh, well, I want them to do 3 things. I want them to go to the website and download all of the fabulous and resourceful materials that we have available, and it's free. The team, my team at the Balm and Gilead, we work so hard to provide you the best of the best, and we are asking you to appreciate the work we are doing by going and downloading the information and sharing it. That's what's so important. That's number 1. Number 2 is while you're on the website, I want you to sign up to get all of the free information that we send out weekly. We are the Balm and Gilead, and you are a part of this family. So while you're on the website, sign up for our newsletter. And the last thing I want you to do, not really the last thing, but as I talk, I'll think of more things. But I want you to think about clinical trials. Because Alzheimer's, we don't have a cure for, but there are more and more researches going on that we are looking for effective treatment and a cure for Alzheimer's. And if Black folks, we who have so many cases, if we are not in clinical studies, then we have missed the mark. Now, Pam, I don't know whether you know it or not, but my birth mother's mother also had Alzheimer's.
Oh.
That's another story. So I'm a little So I decided that I'm going to have genetic counseling. Okay. So I made an appointment 3 weeks ago to down to the genetic department at VCU. I can't get an appointment until October, believe it or not. But, it's like we have got to use everything in our toolbox, and I know so many people will say, well, I don't want to know. But, there might be interventions I may not have the gene. Let's start there.
Right. Yeah.
Jesus. But there may be some interventions, and I think that genetic counseling has become so important for our community, because it's not just Alzheimer's, it's cancer. You know what I mean? It's obesity, it's diabetes, it's hypertension, and God knows what else. It's sickle cell. Yeah. And just knowing now that I know my 8 brothers and sisters and see the illnesses, and some of them have some rare diseases. Who knows what's on my spectrum?
Right.
So I think that, we must begin to talk about, encouraging people to get into clinical studies, as well as, consider getting your genetic tests.
Yeah.
Because so we can see what may be ahead.
Yeah.
And what we might be able to do to circumvent it, and I think that's so important.
Absolutely. And it's those are two things that we don't talk enough about. You know, there's still, again, and obviously reasonable, rational trust issues. We know that they exist, but we can't let those things stop us from being educated about what is available, what is out there, and begin to integrate ourselves into those studies and into those and all the conversations around, you know, those trials. And yes, I mean, you know, genetic, you know what, between my my own family and what happens genetically in my family, and no one knows it till,
Lord have
you know,
mercy.
a kid or a husband or somebody gets tested, and where did that come from? And so,
Right.
yes, it's better if we can know them ahead of time, to find out, like you said, and it's so much we can do. We know so much more now, about preventing and risk reduction, of things that we can, if we commit ourselves to do them, to age, for as long as we can and as healthy as we can.
That's right.
Um, you didn't mention it, but also next week is a part of our Road to Memory Sunday, which we have every Thursday. But we know next Thursday will be Dr. P on the pod. And you
Oh,
do not want to miss it, because Dr. P on the pod will be dedicated to our Road to Memory Sunday, talking about Alzheimer's and dementia and what we want to do. So you do not want to miss that episode or any other episode. If you haven't listened or tuned in, please make sure that you go and that you subscribe. And you're going to get educated. You're going to learn something. You're probably going to laugh a little bit. You may cry a little bit, may do a little bit of both at the same time. But you definitely do
oh
not
boy.
want to miss an opportunity to hear the amazing guests that Dr. Seele has on the podcast. So Dr. P on the pod, I say we'll have a special kind of edition next week as a part of our Road to Memory Sunday. We'll also have some activities related to caregivers, so you can actually share, you know, take a minute to acknowledge yourself as a caregiver, because we never want to pat ourselves on the back, but acknowledge your efforts as caregivers, or those who you know when you see that they're in this on this caregiver journey. So there'll be some opportunities for you to be able to do that, so that we can pass some love on to those caregivers with some special gifts. And then all week on social media, we'll be sharing not only resources such as our Memory Sunday Toolkit and the Book of Alzheimer's, but some resources from some of our amazing partners, organizations like Biogen and other national as well as local partners that we have, because it does us no good to have the information if we aren't sharing it and passing it along to you. And that's what next week is all about, is information sharing, so that everyone who's on this journey or doing this work understands that we're not doing it in silos. We can't do it in silos. And that we're all in this together, and that the more we come together, the more we share, the more we talk, the more we create safe spaces to address stigma and have some of the more difficult conversations, then the better off we will be, not just for the older, you know, generation, but also for my generation and my kids' generation. Alzheimer's is not just an aging issue. It is a lifespan issue. Stuff you do in your 20s and your teens and your 30s will impact you in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, you know, for those of us blessed to be on this earth. And we want to be here, to be able to continue to serve our purpose, consider to serve ourselves, to serve our families, serve our churches and congregations and communities. And the only way we do that is we're going to make sure that we're aging in a healthy way. So we thank you for taking the time to be with us this afternoon. This again will be recorded. We want to make sure that you check out Balm Connect as well, which is where this presentation or this video or conversation rather will live, and interact with it. Share us your thoughts, your comments. Make sure that you join our mailing list, so that you can get Sunday morning health corners that'll be going out as well about Alzheimer's and dementia. You can know when the next episode of Dr. P on the pod is coming out, and really just all the great information about all the programs of the Balm and Gilead. And so that mailing list is really important for you, to make sure that you can be on, and then you pass it along to those who you know might benefit from it. And then lastly, Because I know our Marcom folks would want us to make sure that you connect with us on social media. So on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. So kind of wherever you are on social media, the Balm has something for you. So
That's right.
Facebook user, come and like us on Facebook. If you're on Instagram, please come and follow us on Instagram. And then again, if you are on Twitter, also please come and follow us on Twitter. We do follow back. So again, come and join us and be a part of that conversation and stay connected with us. And as always, I'm going to turn it over to Pernessa, and she's going to tell you the final sign off for today.
Well, listen, I am so glad that you all took the time to join Pam and I in this very important conversation. And I hope that you have got something out of it. I hope you would share it when send this broadcast over and over, watch it, and send it everywhere. The one thing about technology, it lives forever. It lives forever. So thank you so much. We are now into summertime, and when the living is supposed to be easy, well, that's another story. But have some fun, do some things that are safe. COVID. I am just so blessed and humbled that we have survived COVID, because I know personally I have lost a lot of folk. A lot of folk went across the Jordan because of COVID, and I'm just grateful that my number was not called. Mm-hmm. So, let's get with our family and be safe. If you have not gotten vaccinated, I want to encourage you to get vaccinated. Because COVID has not gone away. Okay, let's be clear. It has not gone away. So now that we have the tools to prevent us from getting it, it does not make much sense, family, for us not to use that tool and then end up getting COVID, So please, take the vaccine and enjoy summertime. Also want to say happy Father's Day. Father's Day is coming up right after Memory Sunday. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. And lastly, whatever is going on in your mind, heart, and soul, the good news, the bad news, the sideways news, you better hurry up and remember that there is always and always will be a balm in Gilead. God bless you.
Thanks, everyone.